Understanding the effects of climate change. Climate change is more extreme in some places than in others. For example, the average temperatures near Earth's poles have increased at a more rapid rate than temperatures have increased elsewhere. The environment in North America was quite different 12,000 years ago. Many animals that thrived in that cooler environment, such as woolly mammoths, no longer exist today. Effects of recent climate change. The effects of rapidly changing climate in the past century include sea level rise and changes in habitats. Changes are more extreme in some places. For example, over the past 60 years, the average temperature in Alaska has increased by about 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. That rate of increase is almost twice as fast as that of the rest of the United States. Changes in the biosphere. A region's climate affects its organisms. For example, as the climate warms in Alaska, plants begin to grow earlier in the season than they did in the past. This affects any organisms that depend on those plants. As climate changes a habitat, populations of organisms must adapt, move, or die out. In some places, climate is changing so rapidly that some organisms can't adapt or move quickly enough to survive the changes. Changes in ice. Earth's ice contains a large volume of water and keeps that water out of the oceans. Recent climate change has caused frozen soil called permafrost, continental ice sheets, and glaciers to melt. The melt water from the ice flows into the ocean, which causes sea levels to rise. As ice melts, animals such as polar bears and seals that rest, breed, and hunt for food on ice lose their habitats. Structures built on permafrost can shift and sink into the soil as it thaws. Increased ocean temperatures harm coral that lives in reefs in a process called coral bleaching. Algae that the coral needs for food leave and the coral turns white. Changes in the oceans. Recent climate change has increased ocean temperatures, which affects ocean currents, weather patterns, and sea level. Warmer surface waters generate more powerful tropical storms, hurricanes, and typhoons. Wave action and high winds erode beaches and damage ocean and coastal ecosystems. Rising sea levels flood low-lying coastal areas with ocean water, which kills organisms. Erosion increases as water reaches farther onto shore during storms, often reaching areas that were once protected. Earth's oceans support a diversity of organisms, many of which are important human food sources. Increasing ocean temperatures affect the kinds of organisms that live in particular locations, the migration and breeding patterns of animals, and sensitive marine ecosystems, such as coral reefs and coastal wetlands. As the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases, the amount that dissolves in ocean water also increases. This process makes ocean water more acidic, making it difficult for many marine organisms to form hard skeletons or shells. Human activity and climate change. Human activities are adding greenhouse gases into the atmosphere at an increasingly rapid rate. To reduce the effects of greenhouse gases on global climate, humans must find ways to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases that are being added to the atmosphere. In order to reduce greenhouse gases, scientists and engineers are improving technologies that use wind and solar resources to generate electrical energy. They are also researching ways to absorb and contain greenhouse gases. U.S. carbon dioxide emissions by source. The graph shows the percentages of carbon dioxide emissions in the United States by the activity that generates those emissions. Electricity makes up 37%, transportation like vehicles and cars 31%, industries that makes things for us is 15%, residential and commercial, so like your own house or maybe the school or a place that you would work. And then 6% comes from other areas that are non fossil fuel combustion.